Algernon's October with the check-in here at Hip Hop United. Our next guest is someone that we need to protect at all costs. The ultimate advocate for creative rights and artistic freedom. She continues to be a very, very important figure within the culture and acts as an information bridge between artists and industry. We are so fortunate to have her here. Very, very grateful for her insight and time that she's given to emerging artists as well as established artists. Welcome, Wendy Day, to the check-in. How you doing?
I am so happy to be here. Wow. Can I just take a sample of that, and every day when I'm feeling shitty, I can listen to that?
You can.
It's going to pump me up. Thank you so much for the kind words.
You are welcome. We're
That is
definitely
so
here
kind.
to give you these flowers. So, all right. So we were talking about the ride in a second ago, as well as many other things. What were you listening to on the way in? Like, what does Wendy Day listen to? What is your
This
playlist?
is going to blow your mind. I wasn't listening to music on my way here today. I've been on this kick for the past two and a half years, audiobooks. I've been reading or listening to a book a week for the past 2.5 years. It's like I challenged myself to do it for 90 days and I haven't stopped. So I was listening to, I think it was called The 12 Laws or The 12 Rules of Life. It's a really interesting book that's talking about psychology. And I'm right at the section where it's talking about reward versus punishment. And he's talking about kids. And I wish I could remember his name because this guy is just friggin' genius. But he was talking about not just children, but as adults. And the more skilled adults are the ones that have developed this habit, not as manipulation, but as a way to exist and to live. So, for example, if you and I are partners and I reward your good behavior, it's more likely that you're going to continue doing good behavior, whether we're in a relationship or whether we're business partners. And I'm thinking about it like, oh my God, I really do reward bad behavior, like in life. Like I figure if I go harder and I work harder, it'll make you go harder and make you work harder. And that's not how it works at all. So I've been working against myself my whole life in learning this. I'm like, oh, this is crazy. But it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. That's what I was listening to on my way in today.
Gotcha. So you were getting some knowledge,
And
some
I hit
good
traffic because,
information.
Atlanta.
Atlanta's going to
Atlanta.
Atlanta. Okay, so building on that then still, when you do have a playlist or something going, who's some of the people on it?
I really like listening to new talent. I'm a fan of lyricists. Right now, there's a guy called Gawne, Gawne. I'm listening to him a lot. In fact, I got to interview him. He's independent and he's amazing. He speed raps. He slow raps. He tells stories. He's lyrical. He can kind of do it all. And I've been listening to him a lot. I'm doing an interview series right now with independent artists. So right before I interview them, I'm going deep for a couple weeks into their catalog. I interviewed Nick D, so I listened to Nick D's music. I'm about to interview Connor. So I've been listening to his music. La Russell, I've been listening to his music. I'm more a fan of La Russell, but I am about to interview him. I've just reached out to Russ. I want to interview him for my indie podcast. So I've been checking out his books and his music. So my playlists aren't necessarily for enjoyment per se, but if I'm going to listen to music that I enjoy, I'm either going to listen to street shit or I'm going to listen to lyricists. They're like my two favorite lanes of hip hop, of rap.
Got it. Why do you have such a passion for empowering artistry, and how did you kind of get your start?
I love that you asked that because I'm super passionate about that. And I thought it would pass and it hasn't. And I'm 33 years in. So it's like, when is this going to die down? I guess I'm going to be dead and it's going to die down, right? But I started listening to rap in 1980. I went to a concert at University of Pennsylvania. I'm from Philadelphia, the suburbs of Philly. And I went to see the Psychedelic Furs perform, which is like a new age rock group. And I still love them, by the way. I still go to see them perform live. But I saw Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five perform. And I was like, don't push me, and I won't do all the lyrics because you'll have to pay. But I saw them perform, and they had syncopated rhythms, and they had the matching black leather outfits. I mean, the outfits weren't identical, but everybody was wearing black leather of some sort, and they were moving in syncopated rhythm, and they were telling stories, and I was mesmerized by it. So after leaving that concert, I went to a store called Sound of Market Street in Philadelphia, and I made friends with the DJ, and I'm like, I want to buy all, and it was vinyl back then, vinyl and cassettes. I'm like, I want to buy all of this new music. It wasn't called rap yet. I want all this talking over music. I want to buy it as you get it. And he's like, well, I have a cousin in New York that records in the clubs, and then he sends me the recordings by cassette, overnight. He FedExes them to me, and I sell them for $10. Do you want me to put one aside every week? I'm like, yes, like that's a no-brainer. So I was getting music from the clubs from that weekend on Tuesday. That's when music dropped back then, was on Tuesdays. Yep. So I would go in every Tuesday, and I'd get the new vinyl, and I'd get the bootleg cassette of whatever club, Zanzibar or whatever the club was that was popping at that moment. And it was just incredible because, the energy of live, and you could hear the people going, woo! Oh, yeah. And it was the roof. I don't want to do the lyrics because you're going to have to pay, but it was just incredible, the energy and the passion. And then as I started to get into the lyrics, that took me down a whole other path of learning, like, oh shit, what people of color go through in America is insane. Like 500 years of oppression. Like, what's this about? And then that led to me reading the autobiography of Malcolm X. It was a Chuck D lyric, actually, that led to that. And I don't remember the lyric. I don't remember the song, but he was talking about Malcolm X. That led me to the book. Once I read that book, there are 11 books that he talked about that he read when he was incarcerated. So I went and found as many of those that I could, and I read those. So I started to go down, this is pre-internet, I started to go down that rabbit hole. And it was a little harder back then because you had to go to libraries in order to do it. And a lot of the books that I was looking for were out of print, right? So that led me to studying African-American studies at Temple University, which is an Afrocentric program led by Dr. Molefe Asante, who till today is still my hero. But that led to a master's degree in AFAM studies, and I learned how oppressed people of color are in this country. And that education led me to understanding the struggle. And when I started studying the struggle, I'm like, okay, what can prevent this or flip it? Because I'm always trying to fix problems, right? And I learned actually from Elijah Muhammad that in order to solve the problem of struggle, you just need to help people build their own prosperity. If they can build their own businesses and their own wealth, and this goes for anybody who's being oppressed. This is not like a color thing. This is a struggle thing, right? So I'm like, okay, I want to help people of color build their own companies. And maybe I could do it in the music industry because I love the music. Let me tie all of my knowledge together. And that's what I did. So in 92, I started Rap Coalition. It's a not-for-profit organization. It still exists today. And we educate artists about what's fair and acceptable so they don't get into fucked up. Can I curse? So they don't get into fucked up situations. And then on the flip side, if they're already in a bad situation, we step in and we help break their oppressive contract by any means necessary, whatever that means. But I don't get very outspoken about that. I'm not flossy about it. I don't hold press conferences when I pull somebody out of a bad deal. I'm very quiet about it. And I think that's what has allowed me to operate for this long. In fact, I was on a call this morning with an artist that just performed in Chicago that needs to get out of his contract. And I was going over his contract with him, breaking it down line for line, something he signed in 2018. So even today, we still do that. And we don't charge for that. That's a service that I do for artists when they're kind of at the end of their rope and they need help.
Wow.
And I believe everybody should do that. I don't think I'm special. I think everybody owes it to humanity to help other people. We'd have a much better world.
Totally agree. Totally agree. And you've filled that gap for many, many years.
Yeah, I've walked
and I'm
that
sure
walk, haven't
many
I?
artists
I've
are
talked
very
that talk
grateful.
and walked that walk.
Absolutely. And you have the
Yeah.
education behind it,
Yeah.
with it. So,
Yeah.
so when someone approaches you about gaining some traction within the music industry,
Okay, that's the for-profit side of what I do.
correct.
So go ahead. That's power moves.
Power moves. So when
Yes.
someone approaches you about getting some traction in the music industry, what's the first thing you're looking for with them?
I'm looking for their work ethic. I mean, talent is important and I don't want to downplay it, but we all know there's a lot of talented, successful artists out here. So talent matters to me, but what really matters to me is their work ethic and how hard they're going to go to build traction, especially in 2025, because it's so oversaturated out here. There are, depending on whose study you look at, somewhere between 100,000 and 300,000 songs uploaded every day.
Wow.
Every day.
That's crazy.
Every day. Every day. That's almost 36 million songs in a year. That's just that's overkill. That's overload.
No pressure.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and if you're going to put music out and not market and promote it, it's just going to sink like a rock. It's not going to grow. And so many people don't understand the necessity of really going hard, understanding marketing and promotion, having a budget. I'm not quite sure where the rumor or the memo came from that said this is a free industry, because it's not. No. People do not get discovered. People do not. It's an art form, but it's also a business. So if you're going to come to this as a business, and if you're not, that's great. Like if you just love making music and singing, bless your heart, just do that. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're trying to feed your family and you're trying to build an empire, you're going to need millions of dollars to do this. It's not a cheap industry. It's like starting any startup. It's like starting a business, It just happens to be music and not widgets or candy or toilet paper or, diapers or whatever you're selling. It happens to be art.
I agree. Gear switch a little bit. Rappers in the game, specifically female MCs.
Mm-hmm. Popular right now.
Who do you feel the top female rapper is?
Oh, that's a hard question. I really love Lady London. So I would have to say, I can't say she's top, because what does top really mean, right? Is she the best at rapping? Is she making the most money? Does she have the best career trajectory? Has she built the best empire? So I don't know what top means, but I get a lot of enjoyment out of listening to her music and watching her on social media. I love her image. She's not out here shaking her ass. She's a gorgeous woman, but she's not like, here are my tits, here's my ass. She's very much like, I'm intelligent. Here's what I'm going through. I'm having this issue with this guy. I'm having this issue with life. I'm doing this. My uncle just passed away. Like she's really, multidimensional. So if I had to pick somebody that's top, I think she's got the talent. I think she's got the work ethic. I think she's got the drive. I wish she was bigger than she is. I'm not sure why she's not. I've never really gone in and down that rabbit hole to figure out what's going on in her world. But to me, I think she's the best out here.
Fantastic. Speaking of superstar qualities, I saw a video you pinned to your IG where Eminem's talking about being very grateful to you for paying for his plane ticket, which eventually led him to getting signed.
Yes.
Which inspired me to ask you, what are the characteristics of a superstar? Like, what did you see early in the process with M, or even any others?
Yes.
Well, I guess we'll stick with M,
Yes.
Since
Let's
we're
talk
talking
about him. Yeah, and I'm very fortunate. I've gotten to work with Cash Money Records, Master P's team, Tupac. But let's talk about him, because he was special, right? I knew he would be huge. I didn't know he would be as big as he's gotten. And what I saw in him early was his attitude. He was a white MC at a time when it was not acceptable to be a white rapper. Milli Vanilli had just been stripped of their Grammy, their accoutrements, if you will, their kudos. Vanilla Ice was kind of clowned. There was MC Search, who was white, right? And he was respected, but he wasn't as respected as like a Big Daddy Kane or a Slick Rick or somebody that was from the culture. And I knew it was going to be difficult. I didn't know how difficult it was going to be, but I saw his talent first, thanks to a rapper called Rhymefest, who kind of forced me to listen to M's demo, and I'm thankful that he did. And then when I interacted with M, there were just aspects of his personality that shone through that showed me that he was a great human being. And I didn't necessarily just help him because he's a great human being, but I knew that he would go far because of his integrity and who he was as a person. For example, when I explained to him that he shouldn't put his face on anything because he's white and he should attract people from his lyrical prowess, he said to me, "Fuck that, I'm not doing that. I don't care. I'd rather not get on than hide who I am." And I loved that. Like, he wasn't willing to do things for money. He wasn't willing to hide who he was or change who he was for money. He'd rather be who he is and not be successful than sell his soul. Gotcha. And that is huge in this industry. It's huge for me and it's huge for the industry, right? It's different. Then when I was going through his contract, I saw that he was signed to the Bass Brothers, and I saw what I thought would be an out in his contract. It wasn't an easy out. It wasn't a slam dunk. But because I had been breaking contracts for so many years, I saw something that was arguable in court. And when I told Paul Rosenberg, his manager, this, Paul was like, "No, I'm a lawyer and that's not an out." I'm like, I would try it. Like, I've been doing this for a while. Like, you're a new lawyer. I'm not taking anything away from you. You're great at what you do. But I've been kind of doing this for a long time. Like, let's just try. So he's like, "Well, let's get M on the phone and see what he thinks." So we got M on the phone, and before I could even finish the sentence, I'm like, "I think I found an out in your contract. So if you want to shop a deal, which I know you do, instead of getting 50% of the deal, you'll get 100%. And he said to me, and I quote, "Wendy, I signed that contract. I'm sticking to it. It's my word." And I was dumbfounded by it. I probably even cried when he said that, because I'm like, that is the realest and most kind and most moralistic thing that I've ever heard somebody say in an industry of fuckboys. It's like, dude, I love you for that. I'm going to go hard for you and I'm going to stick by you as long as I need to. So when I bought him that ticket, it was more than just buying him a ticket. I really set up Rap Olympics to showcase him. That was the point of Rap Olympics. And it was also to showcase lyricists. It's when, if you remember back then, gangster rap like Dre and NWA were growing. Ice-T was growing.
West Coast
so
was
West Coast was
on a
rip.
upswing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And lyricism was declining. And then at the same time, out of New York, you had Puffy and the poppin' bottles rap and the yachts and the helicopters and the shiny suits growing. So, and again, even though Biggie was very lyrical, like, lyricism was taking a back seat to image, right?
I agree.
And I'm like,
the floss
okay,
area.
the flossy area. Yes, yes. And as much as I loved the lyrics, and Jay-Z even said it, like, he was dumbing down his lyrics in order to reach mass status, like the masses of people, right? And I'm like, no, I don't want that. I want people to love lyrics the way that I love lyrics. So Rap Olympics was sort of the answer to that. You know, I was watching Scribble Jam. I was watching the different battles that were going on around the country. Zulu Nation Anniversary always had battle rappers. Shout out to D.A. Smart for winning that year after year. I was watching Supernatural and Craig G come up and battle, right? And I'm like, okay, let's give light to the battle culture, but instead of having like one-on-one battles, let's do teams. Let's do teams of like 5 people rapping against teams of other 5 people, and let's have each part of the culture have a team. Like, let's let Wu-Tang Clan have a team. Let's let KRS-One have a team. Project Blowed had a team. Rap Coalition had a team. I offered the Zulu Nation to have a team. So of the people that came to Rap Olympics, that was the goal. And then I publicized the shit out of it. So MTV was there, BET was there, like all of the press was there. It was done right after the Rap Sheet convention. So the rap fans were there, like the people that were there, the industry was there, and it went ham. It went crazy. And that is what led Eminem to catch the attention of Dr. Dre, not to mention that Jimmy Iovine had a nephew in the event who brought Infinite, which was the EP that M released his demo tape, basically, to Jimmy Iovine in order to bring it in from that angle. I had sent Jimmy M's music twice in the 9 months leading up to that and got rejected both times. So when his nephew brought in the music, it was a little different than like some white chick in New York FedExing, somebody's music to a label executive. It's just it hits different,
It's
right?
different, yeah.
But really what drove it was Dre hearing M rap on the Wake Up Show that night and saying, you know what? I need to sign this kid. And it was a huge risk on everybody's part to accept that deal because remember, Dre had just put out an album that tanked. He had just put out like a compilation. I can't remember what it's called.
The Firm?
Yes.
Yeah, the
And
Firm
it
with
had-
Foxy and some other people or whatever.
It was a compilation album that he put out and it tanked.
That might have been it.
Phone Tap was on it. So
Yeah, it
whatever
was The Firm.
album
Yeah,
Phone
the Firm,
Tap is
the
on.
Firm, the Firm,
Thank you.
AZ, Nas.
That's it.
Yeah, I think that's it.
So whatever compilation that was on, that was the song that did well, and everything else just bloop, just downhill. So I was really nervous to do that deal for M because Dre was fresh off a failure, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Every time that I have ever failed in life, and I'm of the mind state that fail faster. Like failure is not bad. It's how you learn, right?
Yeah.
It shows you what not to do.
Right.
So my attitude is fail faster. But every time I've ever failed, I've always come back harder and won because that downturn fuels you and makes you not sleep. It makes you not eat. It just makes you tunnel visioned. And I'm like, you know what? This is the time to sign to Dre. And it paid off. It absolutely paid off. I did that again with David Banner's career. When Steve Rifkin went from Loud to start SRC, I knew that he was going to come hard with whatever his first win was. So when I negotiated David Banner's deal at SRC, I forced them to put him out before anybody else. No disrespect to everybody else that was signed. It didn't work. Like there were other artists that came out before Banner, but he went hard for Banner because he had something to prove. And when somebody has something to prove, they're dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
They're dangerous.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. What's some fun facts about Wendy that we may not know?
Ooh, okay. One fun fact is that I'm a glass artist. I do I'm looking at your face right now. I do kiln form glass. I've been doing it for probably 30 years. I'm pretty good at it. It's how I chill out. In fact, I have a cut on my hand that you probably can't see from Tuesday night when I lifted a giant sheet of glass, and it's so sharp I didn't feel it. And it was in a class, right? And one of the other students came over to me and said, you might be bleeding. There's blood running down that clear sheet of glass. And I'm like, oh, shit. It was so sharp I didn't feel it. But
Wow.
I love taking sheets of glass and cutting shapes out of it. And then you form it and you put it into a kiln. You heat it up to 1700 degrees and it melts together. It gets red hot. Like it melts
Well, I can
together.
imagine so.
And then it makes bowls and plates and just sheets of glass that have really cool patterns. And I've been doing that for 30 years and I love it.
And what are you doing with all of these glass artistry, man?
Sadly, they're just taking up a room in my house. I have a room in my house of all this different artwork. I don't want to sell it because if I sell it, it's going to take the fun out of it, right? I don't want it to become transactional. It's how I chill out. It's my happy time, right?
Okay.
Another thing you might not know about me is that I'm always learning something. People that kind of know my personality can figure that out. But I've been taking classes my whole life. I'm in my early 60s now, and I still take classes. I'm still going to school. I'm studying AI and data science right now, which is exciting. I'm learning how to speak Spanish. I'm doing a lot of really cool shit. But for me, that I need that growth. Like, that's one of my core values. That's what fuels me. That's what excites me. It keeps me young. It keeps me vibrant. So I've been doing that.
Continuous
Can I
learning.
hit you with one more?
You can hit me with how many you want, man.
I'm going to sit here all day and just tell you all this cool
Listen,
shit that I did.
Again, we're just going to just take all this with
I
us.
love it. I love it. I love it. So 2.5 years ago now, maybe 2 years ago now, I hit a slump and I didn't know what was wrong with me. And I'm going to share this because I think this might help other people. So it felt like I was walking through wet cement. I wanted to move fast, but I couldn't. Can you imagine being like waist deep in wet cement, how that would feel? Or mud? That's how I felt. It was like somebody was holding the back of my shirt so that I couldn't really move forward. But when I looked back, there was nobody there. And I didn't know what was wrong. I didn't know if it was depression. I didn't know if it was burnout. I didn't know what was wrong with me. And I've had a lot of success in my life. So I knew, like a lot. So I knew that something was wrong, but I didn't know what it was because my mind would say, here's a list of shit to do, but I wasn't getting any of it done. I was procrastinating. I was binge watching TV. I just couldn't get motivated. And when I tried to get motivated, I would move so slow. It was like, what's wrong with me? And I was really nervous and I didn't want to ask for help because I didn't want to take drugs. I didn't know what was wrong. I didn't know. So I'm like, I'm stuck. So finally I couldn't take it anymore. And I said, okay, I'm going to go see a therapist. So I met with 3 different therapists. I actually ended up keeping 2 of them. And I started therapy. And being the overachiever that I am, I had a side chick. I had a side therapist, right? So I was seeing 2 a week because I'm going to solve this fucking problem really fast.
You're getting it done.
I'm getting it done. So I started therapy and I stayed in therapy for about 9 months and I ended up keeping one of them for the full 9 months. The other one I let go after about 6 months because she made me a little uncomfortable, not in a good way. She would start to go down a route and ask me questions and I went with it because I didn't know what was going to solve my problem, but it just didn't feel right. It felt uncomfortable, but not in a breakthrough way. It just felt uncomfortable.
Gotcha.
You know? She diagnosed me with ADHD, which I never knew that I had. And ADHD in women makes us very focused, but it also makes us like all over the place. Like we can be talking about one thing, we'll switch a topic and then, oh, there's a squirrel. Oh, look at that shiny object. And then that's what happens to us, right? Yeah. So, and I probably just did it right then. But I learned so much about myself and I learned so much about like how to interact with people. I learned how to strengthen relationships, both business relationships, friendships, and loving relationships because I really sucked at them up until then. Like I couldn't keep a relationship longer than 7 years. And I would blame it on the music industry because I was so focused, but it wasn't. It was me. I was focused on my work because I didn't want to be vulnerable inside of the relationship. So I learned so much about myself and I learned that, first of all, it was burnout and a little bit of depression. That's what was making me feel stuck. So I was able to solve that. I was able to solve my avoidance behavior. I was able to solve the procrastination. And the most important thing I learned was to ask for help. And even just therapy in itself is asking for help. But I learned to ask people around me and communicate what I need from them, which I could not do up until that point. I would just do it my damn self because that's how I was raised. I was raised, don't burden people, just do it yourself. Don't ask people for help. You can't lift something, figure it out. Dude, I would like move myself from one house to another. Like it was crazy the way I was living life. And I learned to have a business coach. I hired a business coach a little over a year ago, and she's been amazing. The stuff that I've been able to accomplish in the past year is like more than what I could do in the past 10, which is incredible. I have a staff of 4 people, And I've had staffs of people before, but I would do all the work and they would just be sitting there playing on their computers. My fault, not theirs. They were happy to take the paycheck and do very little work, but it was my fault because I couldn't communicate what I needed them to do. I just thought they should see what needed to be done and step up and do it. And when they didn't, I would just do it for them, right? Or one other employee would do the work of those people in my office. And they were great people. They didn't do anything wrong. I just couldn't communicate.
You were used to delegating.
I was not.
Yeah,
And I sucked at that. And what I should have done was go take a course in it. You know, the way I love to take courses. I should have learned how to do it and I didn't.
Yeah.
So I ended up laying them off and then staying like until I could get my shit together. It was me and one other person in my office doing everything. And then I had never had interns before because I wouldn't let people work for free. I had a problem with that. And I learned that even though I had worked for free like the first 10 years of my career, right?
Yeah.
So I realized that by giving them opportunity and by giving them access to me and knowledge, my knowledge, that I was paying them, I just wasn't transacting, right?
Absolutely.
And I learned to have interns. I've hired 3 of those interns to work with us. So people have proven themselves. I didn't just go and hire somebody because I liked them.
Right.
I actually got to see what they could do. And then I hired people that were ideal for the positions that I needed. And it worked out amazingly. And again, this is not disrespectful to anybody that's worked for me because I love everybody that has worked for me. I just wasn't able to supervise them properly to get what I needed to grow the company.
Yeah.
And now my company is growing by leaps and bounds. I've got a coaching company starting this month. I built an educational platform called Musicable where people can come and learn about the music industry at affordable prices. I've got a community where like-minded individuals come and hang out and talk about the music industry, and there's a ton of educational stuff in there for them. I've got so many cool things that are starting. I've got 3 podcasts now. So,
Woo.
and I still have time for like my personal life and to sleep. Go figure.
Just getting some help and delegating. Just
Getting some help
not
and
only
delegating
growing your business,
and
but getting
focusing
some
on
balance
me.
for your life.
And balance. Like I learned that self-care, I thought self-care was going and getting a massage. I thought self-care was not going out on Saturday night and getting drunk. I thought that was self-care. It's not. Self-care is setting boundaries. Self-care is working out. I've lost 120 pounds.
You look great.
In the past year and a half. So I've learned to take care of myself. I've learned to eat healthy. I've learned to work out. And if you had told me a year and a half ago that I would be working out, I would have told you were nuts. And the way that I work out is I went and asked for help. I asked one of the best trainers in the music industry, and he said, you know what? I live around the corner from you, and my wife is a trainer. And if you can't walk around the corner 3 times a week to work out for an hour, there's really something wrong with you, Wendy. And that's what I do. I work out with his wife 3 times a week. I do aquatic aerobics twice a week. I go to the gym now. It's like,
it's a whole different situation. You're
Yes.
looking at yourself from a distance and going, hey, look at me. I'm
look
doing
at
this
me.
type of stuff.
Look at me. And one of the things that I did when I first went to therapy, you know, the therapist always says, well, why are you here? And of course I explained that I was stuck, and they're like, okay, what's the goal? Because if you don't have a goal, why are you here? Right. So I'm like, okay, my goal is to be the best me that I can be. And they're like, okay, what does that look like? So I put together a plan for myself, like a business plan, because that's like what I do, right? That's who I am. So I call it my life book, and it's 300 plus pages of 12 different areas of my life, financially, where I want to be, hobby wise, where I want to be, relationship, where I want to be, company, where I want to be, family and friends, where I want to be. So there's 12 different areas of my life that I've kind of planned out. I mean, it's not like at 2:00, I'm going to go, it's not that, but it talks about where I want to be a year from when I put it together a year ago, where I want to be in a year, 2 years, and 5 years. And I'm at my 2-year goal in a year. And it looks like I'm going to be at my 5-year goal in about 2.5 to 3 years. So I'm really excited about that. It gave me perspective. It's not just me bumbling through life saying, "Oh, I'll do it when I get to it."
Right.
This is what my goals are, and here's how I'm going to get there.
You basically put the same structure that you had
Yes.
around your business and philosophies
Yes.
and passion, and you applied that
Yes.
to improving you
Yes.
with that. So
Yes.
you,
And
you-
now-
you've been your greatest business venture.
And now I'm writing books about how I did it, so that other people that feel stuck, or even people that don't feel stuck, can change their lives and become the best me that they can be.
Still helping people, I tell you.
Yeah.
Just always helping
Always,
people.
yeah.
You're always helping
it's
someone.
core value.
I
It's
love
core
it.
value.
I love it.
Yep.
So what does a typical day look like for you?
There is no typical day. Like, every day is different. Like I said, today I woke up and I was on a 10 o'clock call with a rapper who was at the airport in Chicago breaking down his contract with his record label, explaining exactly what it says. And then I was on a call with one of my clients who just learned from the trademark office that he may not be able to use his name, and he may have to change his name, which is a huge problem.
Yeah.
Fortunately, he's new enough where we didn't spend that much money yet, but we spent some money, in order to market and promote him. That's going to be a problem. And then I sat in traffic on the way down here. But while I was on my way downtown, I was able to make calls and speak to each of my clients and make sure everybody's doing what needs to be done. Because on Fridays, it's where we make sure. Mondays, I send out a list of what needs to be done. Friday is my check-in day to make sure everything's done.
Gotcha.
And that was cool because I could do it by phone instead of by Zoom. And it's much faster when you're not on Zoom to be able to talk to somebody, because on Zoom, it becomes a personal back and forth conversation. By phone, it's like boom, 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 done, next.
Right.
So that was pretty cool. And then I'm going to leave here and I'm going to go to the glass studio and make some art for about an hour to an hour and a half and chill out. And then I've got a meeting with another rapper from Florida who just got dropped from his major label, and he wants to rebuild his career. I'm going to help put like a plan together for him so that he can get to the next level. And for those of you out there that are trying to plan like either how to pivot and recreate a career, or if you're just starting out, make sure you know what your goals are. Figure out what your values are, your core values in life. Figure out the 5 things that drive you. Because if you have a plan of things to do and it's not hitting your values, you're not going to get it done. You're not going to be motivated to get it done. So I suggest you figure out like what drives you, what matters most to you in life. Just pick 5 core values, and you can Google what is a core value and it'll teach you exactly how to do this. That's how I learned. And then once you figure out your core values, figure out what your goals are for your music industry side of what you're doing. I figured out my goals for every aspect of my life, but especially figure it out for music, because your goal, if you don't know where you're going, it's like GPS. You can't get there. Right. If you don't know what you're trying to achieve, you're just going to bumble around and go in circles and not get there, and not even know what to study to help yourself to get there. So figure out your core values, your goals, make sure your goals meet your core values, because if they don't, you're not going to win.
In that same vein, Brianna and I were kind of having this discussion, so we said, we're going to ask Wendy about this. What's your thoughts on, your underground rappers who might be in their mid to late 40s, your later bloomers, that are trying to kind of become mainstream, but it doesn't seem to be connecting. It's not working out.
It's not connecting because the bulk of fans are 13 to 26. So if you're in your 40s and you're trying to reach 20-year-olds, they're going to look at you like, you look like my dad, or you look like my mom, or in some cases, you look like my grandparents, and it's not going to work, right? So you're going to have to go after a niche of people that are in sort of your age range. So let's use 40 as an example, right? It's not impossible. It's just hard. Yeah. And at Power Moves, we don't take on those clients because the amount of money that you're going to spend for the return doesn't make sense for what I charge. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. You should. If this is your passion, fucking go for it.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to become the next superstar, it's so much easier to start when you're Justin Bieber's age, like, 13, 14, 15, up to 26, because that's the main people that are spending money on music. As people, fans, consumers, as they age, they start focusing on their own lives. They've got mortgages, they've got car payments, they've got children. So in the car, they're listening to Barney or they're listening to whatever. They're not necessarily spending money on hip hop. They're probably not going to shows. They're probably not buying merch because they've just got other shit they have to do with their money. So it's not that you can't succeed. It's that you're selling something to a group of people that aren't going to buy what you're trying to sell. So it becomes very niche. You have a fan base. It's just a little harder to reach. So instead of 1 out of 100 people becoming a fan, it might be 1 out of 500 or 1 out of 1,000. So you've got to reach more people in order to find your core audience.
That makes sense. So would you agree that aspiring artists should definitely keep their day job?
I think that about everybody, no matter what. Yeah. And I've always thought that.
Yeah.
If you depend on this for money, especially if you have a family to feed, that stress is going to weigh you down exponentially. If you have a way to make money, even me in this industry, and I'm not a rapper or a singer, right? Around 2003, I realized how hard it is to feed myself, and I didn't want to take on clients that couldn't win. So I'm turning down money, but yet I have rent due, and I was living in New York City. So I'm like, I better figure out something fucking fast. So I moved out of New York. I learned how to flip real estate. And today I have made more money in real estate than I have in the music industry by far. But I would suggest finding a way to monetize. And you shouldn't do anything illegal, and you shouldn't be a criminal, and you shouldn't break the law. But you have to have some way to sustain, because we live in a transactional society. We live in a society where you need money, and living off of another human being is not the answer. And that's what I saw a lot of rappers doing in the 90s. It was mostly guys, and they would have a girlfriend, and she would pay all the bills and she'd hold them down. But the hard part about that is this is a very slow build, and you're asking somebody to pay all the bills for a minimum of 1.5 to 2 years, up to 5, 6, 7, 8 years until you start making money. And there's not a whole lot of people that are going to go that hard so that you can rap. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And you might be out there talking to other women and having other relationships, and if she's holding you down and paying all the bills and she feels disrespected, she's either going to get really mean really fast, or she's going to leave. And then you're back at square zero, right? So the best way to really excel is to figure out a way where you can make enough money to survive and make enough money, or find an investor to invest in your career so that you can have the best of both worlds.
Definitely, definitely. So what is the best way, you think, for independent artists? I'll say it again. What is the best way for independent artists to transform those social media views and streams to revenue?
Legitimately, first of all, you can't look at it as vanity metrics. And I know that as humans, we want to look at our numbers and feel validated. We want to feel like we have a lot of followers and they all love us. You have to stop looking at it that way, because it's better to have 2,000 really engaged, committed followers on any platform than it is to have 100,000 bots, because now you're fucking up your algorithm. Really understand how the tech works, because when you understand how the tech works, and it's not easy to find out. It's not like you can go and Google, how does Spotify work? How does Apple, algorithms work? They don't tell you. It's even the people that work there don't know. It's baked into their proprietary secrets, right? But you can see from trying different things what works and what doesn't. Right. And the goal is to do more of what works and less of what doesn't. But what you can't do is try to game the system. And in hip hop, we've been trying to game the system since the 80s. Like, if there was a way to get over, we can buy SoundScan to get a record deal. Let's do it. If there's a way for us to get over, we try. Don't do that. The tech is way smarter than we are. It's all way smarter than we are right now. And all you're going to do is fuck up your numbers and have to start over, because you can't undo fake followers. You have to just zero out that account and start over. And if you've got a bunch of fake followers in a phone bank in Bangladesh somewhere, that's what the algorithm is going to show more of your social media content to. It's going to open up your music to that. Whatever you're buying fake followers of, you're just going to get more of that. And they're fake. Let me say that again. They're not real. So you're putting all this effort into looking good so that people will see the numbers, but people aren't staying to watch you because they're not seeing it. So you've got really high numbers that's being shown to nobody. It's so ass backwards. It's hustling backwards. So really just build a career, and you cannot avoid social media. I hate filming videos. I hate TikTok. I hate Instagram. I hate it all. But you have to get good at it, because this is where people discover music today. They discover music on YouTube, on TikTok, and Spotify, and a little bit still on SoundCloud. These are the biggest ways that people discover music. And until you build that initial foundation and that initial base and have something start to move a little bit, it doesn't make sense to spend money on it to take it the rest of the way unless it's got a little bit of movement by itself. It's got to grow legs by itself. And then when it starts to grow legs, you go all in. You do more of what works and less of what doesn't.
Right. So what's the best way for an artist to build and or expand their community?
I do it digitally because social media is so important. So I suggest that they interact with everybody that's on their page. Like, go in, and I know how hard this is. I know how time consuming it is, but this is what's going to build your career. Then find other artists at your level that have a similar sound. I'm not talking about Drake. I'm not talking about J. Cole. I'm not talking about the stars. I'm talking about the unknown artists at the same level or a little bit above you that have a similar sound, and then go into their social media following and start engaging with their fans. But understand, it's called poaching. And as you start poaching and an artist realizes that you're poaching, they're more than likely going to block you and shut you down. But be respectful, start conversations, don't diss the person whose feed that you're on. Talk about what you like about that person. Try to big them up. Try to do collaboration posts with them. Maybe even do a song with them. But that's how you build it. You find the people that are your potential fans and you reach out to them. And you talk about, you don't push your music on them. You don't spam them. You don't at them and say, listen to my song, because nobody wants that. You build a conversation with them based on a connection. So you guys know that I'm a glass artist. I told you that. So anybody that comes onto my feed and starts talking about ceramics or sculpture or art, or Wendy, who's your favorite glass artist? Send me a link. Now I'm feeling a connection to that person, and I'm going to I just created hell for myself by saying this, but I'm creating a connection to that person, and I'm creating something for us to have in common, and I'm more likely to go see who they are. And when I see that they're an artist, I'm going to check out their music because now I like them. This is how it works in 2025. When I was coming up, and I use Nas as this example all the time, when I heard his music, it made me want to know who he is. So when I heard Illmatic, I went and studied Nas. Oh, wow, his dad's a jazz musician. Oh, shit, he's from Queensbridge. I live in Brooklyn right now. That's not far. Who else is from Queensbridge? Are there other artists? Oh, look, Capone Noriega. Oh, look, AZ. I know AZ. Wow, I like his music too. Maybe there's something in the water over at Queensbridge. Maybe I should check out all the Queensbridge artists. This is like the way people think. Today, it's the exact opposite. Today, I have to like the artist before I go check out the music. So if I'm talking to somebody on social media, I'm talking to Emma Redman, right? Emma Redman is a 20-year-old pop artist from Louisville, Kentucky that moved to New York. I used to live in New York. I loved living in New York. It's where she wanted to be. She moved there alone, no friends, no family, no nothing. I did the same thing 20 years before her, 30 years before her. So I'm like, oh, I felt a connection. So I went in and started listening to her music, and I'm like, oh my God, this girl can sing. Holy shit, she's so soulful. And that made me then go down the rabbit hole and check out all of her music and really start to like her as a singer. But I had to know her first. and I had to like her first. And that's how this works. So you have to reach out to people, build a connection one at a time, one by one, and that's what happens. And then as other people see you talking on your feed or their feed or somebody else's feed, then they go and check you out. And when they like you, they share you with other people. Hey, check out Emma. Look at this girl sing. She's amazing. And then my friends are hitting me back. Where's she from? Louisville, but she lives in New York. Oh shit, she lives in New York. What does she do for a living? And now it becomes like a whole conversation about Emma, and it's bringing them into her. Now they're following her and they're checking out her music and they're checking her out on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever they consume music.
Gotcha. And
you've got to be everywhere. So anywhere people consume music, you want to be there. Whether it's YouTube or SoundCloud or AudioMac or Spotify, Deezer, Tidal, you want to be on all the platforms because you never know where somebody is going to want to listen to you. And if they can't, at the level that you're at, they're going to forget. And once they forget and they're on to something else, we live in a world where people are they're all over the place. You don't get a second chance today.
No, you're right. So when does it make sense for an artist to actually sign to a label? I know you said, hey, you're not against them.
When they have leverage.
Purpose.
Yeah, that's a great question because I'm not against them. I think that there's a lot of people out here that aren't entrepreneurial, and I don't think that somebody should try to do a job that they're not good at. I think they're setting themselves up for failure. So I think if they need to have a label behind them or a team behind them, they're going to have to look at their options. But you should not sign a record deal until you have proven that you have a fan base, until you've got numbers that are high enough. And I can't sit here and tell you, oh, that's 100,000 followers, or that's 10,000 followers, or that's 30,000, because it depends on where everybody at your level is. So if all of the new artists have 30 to 40,000 followers and you have 10, you're not special. You're not going to stand out. But if everybody at your level has 30 or 40,000 followers and you have 50,000, you're standing out. That's who the labels want. They want the artists that have proven that the risk is reduced for them to invest in them. It's a business. It's a reducing risk game.
And that makes sense. That absolutely makes sense.
And it's always been that.
All right. So Wendy Days, top 5 MCs,
oh, wow.
dead or alive.
Okay, my favorite is Raz Kaz. He's always been my favorite.
West Coast.
Lyrically. My second favorite, I love Jeezy. I love 2005, 2006, 2007 Jeezy. He's definitely there. 3 more. Biggie. And it's funny because I really just started getting into Biggie like 10 years ago. I worked with Tupac. When Tupac died, I was setting up his label for him. And back then there was the East Coast, West Coast war. And I'm old school, so I don't cross loyalty. So because Tupac had issues with the East Coast and Biggie, I never listened to Biggie's music when it was coming out. I mean, I heard it on the radio. I knew what it was, but I never really put an album on and rocked it all the way through like I do today. So I got to put him on the list. I really like Gone, Gawne. His music's incredible. I'm trying to remember, is he from Ohio? Is he from Illinois, Chicago? I can't remember where he's from, but I really like him. And I have to pick one more. I can't just leave it open.
You can.
I'm going to leave it open for whoever's coming next to fill that slot.
Very smart.
Because it changes. Most people my age, like my generation, we say that hip hop is whack now, and it's not. I started listening to hip hop in 1980, and it changes every 3 to 5 years. So I've been listening a really long time, and I've learned that if you don't like what's out today, like if you don't like drill rap, wait 5 years. If you don't like, they call it mumble rap, but it's really opioid rap. It's the guys are too fucking high to form words, right? So if you don't like it, wait 5 years.
I agree.
Seriously.
I agree
if you don't
100%.
like the melodic shit, wait 5 years. I love melodic rap. I love Post Malone. I love that. In fact, let me put him on the list. Let me put him as my 5th. And
he's your 5th?
I think nobody else in hip hop has ever done that. So I think I might be a first. I really wanted to put Eminem, but I love melodic rap. I love UGK for the melodies and Bun B is one of the best rappers in the world, but he was rapping over really cool funk, Chad Beats, Pimp C Beats. And it made them, the album that I have listened to the most in my career is Riding Dirty.
Oh, yeah.
More than any other album out here. Because it's just amazing. It's an amazing album.
Classic. And to wrap up, man, because you've given us so many jewels. I mean, we got trucks outside just to hold all of the diamonds and rubies and jewels that you've given to us. What are some of the things that you have not done that you're still working on?
I'm building an incubator, a business incubator for rappers, and I'm in the process of shopping for the funding right now. I've been building this for a couple years, and it's taken me a while for two reasons. One, I'm scared out of my fucking mind to do this, and it causes me pain to admit that. But the second reason is it's very hard for me to get the funding for this, because when the artists leave after 3 years, when they leave the nest, I want them to leave with 100% ownership of their masters and 100% ownership of their publishing. So I'm asking for people to invest in something where they can only get a return for 3 years. And it sometimes takes longer than 3 years to break an artist. Yeah. So I'm building risk into this business model. And it's been really hard to get anybody, especially in the music industry. They're like, no, we want half. Like, we put in money, we get half back. Why would we invest in your harebrained scheme? Yeah, you've got a reputation. Yeah, you've done a great job, but we want half. Yeah. I'm not willing to do that. I'd rather not build it than have to give somebody that much ownership of an artist's art form.
That's a powerful program for an artist. Very powerful, because they get a chance to come into the game pretty much owning what they've put together.
Yes.
Very
and I'm
powerful.
going to depend on the fact that they won't turn around and screw other artists under them in order, to build their empire. That's my goal.
Hopefully.
That's my goal.
Does it make sense for independent artists to do features with mainstream artists?
No, not in the beginning of their career. When nobody knows who you are and you are featured with somebody that is known, it does not bring you light. Once you bubble a little bit and people start to know who you are, yes, features can take you to the next level. But when you're first starting out, they don't help you at all. And secondly, a signed artist doesn't own their own rights. They are signed to a major record label. And I'm going to use Atlantic as an example. I'm not picking on them at all. I'm just going to say Atlantic, right? So if I'm an up-and-coming artist and I want to use a feature from somebody that's signed to Atlantic Records, I have to go to the lawyer for Atlantic Records and say, hey, I have a feature here with Kevin Gates, and I don't know if Kevin's still signed to Atlantic or not, but I'm going to use him as an example. First of all, they can say no. They have the right to say yes or no. You can clear that, right? And if you look at it from their point of view, they have spent tens of millions of dollars to build that artist's career. Why would they want you to benefit from that? Why would they want him on the song of an unknown artist that's probably not going to go anywhere? Because we already know you probably don't have the millions of dollars it takes to blow up a song. Why would they want that? They wouldn't. So the artists that are out here that are doing features, it's a way for them to make money. So they might be out on tour, and I'm not talking about Gates at this point. I'm talking about any rapper that's signed. They might be in Chicago doing a show, and there's a up-and-coming rapper that says, yo, I got 10 grand right now if you hop on the song. So they'll go in the studio, they'll drop, 8 bars, 16 bars, collect the 10 grand and get on the plane and go home. But you can't use that. As the artist that paid 10 grand, you think that you can put that out and profit from it, and you cannot, because that artist that came and dropped that verse for you did it fully knowing that they're signed to a record label that owns the rights to their name, their likeness, and their voice. So you have to get it cleared. You can put it out, but they also have the right to shut it down when they find out about it. And now you're going to be pissed, and you're going to think that the artist screwed you over. And in a way, they kind of did, because they took the 10 grand. But if you're going to pay somebody to get on a song with you, at least get them to try to clear it. Because once they get on that plane and they go home with your 10 grand, you're never going to get them on the phone again. It's very hard for them to go to their label and say, you know what, this is my guy. I did this verse for him. I owed him a favor. I need you to clear this. Like when I was working with Trick, we did that with Eminem. Eminem appeared on 2 songs, and it's really hard to clear Eminem because Interscope and Dre are like, no, you're using us to blow up. Why would we do that? We're not making any money. No. But M owed Trick a favor, so he appeared on 2 songs for him. He went to Interscope. He went to Dre and said, yo, I need this to happen. And then I was able to go shop Trick a deal with those 2 Eminem songs as part of his repertoire, and it had value because we had the signed clearance. You have to have a contractual agreement with the artist to use their verse and with their record label to clear it and with their publishing company to clear it. So you've got to have the approval of everybody in the process to make sure that this can happen as you go forward. And most up and coming artists don't have the power to do that, the leverage to do that, or the knowledge base to do that. So that's why I'm so against it. It's a way for you to lose money paying somebody to appear on a song with you when you could have put that money into marketing and promoting a song that just features you.
No, that makes sense. That absolutely makes sense. Wendy, we super appreciate you checking in with Hip Hop United.
And thank you for doing this. Like, I have podcasts, so I know that we don't make money doing podcasts. We do this for the love of the podcast and the culture. So the fact that you guys are doing this out of the love and the admiration, I really respect that. And thank you for having me, and thank you for doing this, and keep up the great work. Both of y'all.
We appreciate everything that you've been doing for these artists. I'm a huge fan of anyone that's an advocate for artistic freedom as well as prosperity.
I love
and
that.
You have been doing that for many years.
Thank you.
So thank you so much. We're forever grateful for your contributions to the culture. Please tell everybody about your socials and upcoming projects so they can check in.
Absolutely. I've got an educational website coming called Musicable. It's musicable.io. I've got a community that you can join where you can come hang out with like-minded individuals. I go live and answer questions twice a month for an hour every other Wednesday night. That's called Wendy Day Inner Circle. It's called Inner Circle, but it's wendydayinnercircle.com. It's on the Mighty Network, if you guys are familiar with Mighty. What else am I working on? I've got a whole bunch of books about to drop, and Power Moves, which is my hands-on consulting company, is about to birth a baby, and it's called Power Plays. And Power Plays is a coaching program for people that don't need hands-on help and that have smaller budgets. Not smaller budgets for marketing and promotion. You still need to spend the money there, but it's a way for me to be able to lower my price because I won't have a team of 5 people helping you do the work. You've got to do all of your own work. But if you're willing to do that, it's a 6-month program, and it's way cheaper than Power Moves, and it's called Power Plays. And you can find that at wendyday.com.
All right. And, of course, Rap Coalition on Instagram and all that kind of good stuff. Well, listen.
On all platforms.
All platforms.
Yep.
Rap
not
Coalition.
YouTube. YouTube is This Is Wendy Day. So it's youtube.com/This Is Wendy Day. And there's a ton of free videos there. There's like 200 and some odd videos about how to succeed in music on my YouTube channel.
So plenty of knowledge that you can go and get, plenty of information that you can go and grab to be successful. So make sure you tap into Wendy Day with all of her platforms and everything she's doing. Of course, also make sure you subscribe to Hip Hop United on the iHeart app, and make sure you tap in for more great interviews like this. Make sure you select Hip Hop United and put us in the presets. We appreciate all the support. Make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend.
Save them.
Hip Hop United with a check-in. Let's go.
I love that. Thank you.